So in this step, we're continuing to lay out our application, and we're going to be focusing on creating the actual feed here. So we're going to use some mock data, and then we're going to get our first tweet to show up. So to do that, we need to navigate into Source, Components, and Feed. And in the render method, you can see that there's a placeholder here, comment out where the tweets are going to go. So the first thing we need to do is declare tweets as a prop type. So when you say prop types, and there's going to be one called tweets, and it's going to be of type react.proptypes.object, and this will be required. So now we need to get some mock data that we can use to continue developing our application. And for that, we're going to flip over and take a look at our API. So I'm going to click on the first link here for /tweets. And you can see a list of some of the tweets that our API is serving. And I'm going to look through this, and I'm going to grab this tweet down here by Luca. And so I'm going to take the tweet, I'm going to go back to the application, and I need to use this now as mock data. So React has a method called getDefaultProps, and it's a function that returns an object, and in that you declare the property, and then you give it some data. And so the idea here is that if this tweets is not passed into the component, then it's going to be populated with whatever is in getDefaultProps. So to use this, the first thing I need to do is declare the tweet. So I'm going to start by passing in the data that I copied from the API. And so if you remember the data structure that we're using, this is actually going to go into data. And then the ID field here, I'm actually going to paste it, but we're going to paste that at the top. And then the full data structure has fields like CID, and it'll have a state. And so we might say that this is resolved, and then we have the actual data from the server. And we don't need all of that. So for right now, for this example, I'm actually going to delete those pieces and only use the fields that I know we're going to be using. So tweets then, we need to return. So tweets we know is going to have a field called data, and that's going to be an array of the individual tweets. So we've copied our tweet here using the data from the server as our mock. We moved ID up to the top, and then we created our tweets data structure, and we've placed the tweet in this data field. And with our mock data created now, we can actually use it in our render method. So I'm going to start by pulling that in and say var tweets equals this.props.tweets. So I'm going to pull in our mock data. And then here I actually want to render those tweets. And to do that, I'm first going to create a method called renderTweet. And it's going to take a tweet as an argument. And we're just going to have it return a simple list. And it's going to render tweet.data.text. So once again, with this data structure, it's going to be tweet. We need to go into the data field, and then we need to extract text. So that's where we get tweet.data.text. And then we're going to take our tweets. We're going to say tweets.data.map, and we want to map each tweet into this.render tweet. So if we save that, we go back to our application, we refresh the page, you can see that our first tweet is actually rendered. But we've actually got a small problem here. So if we open up go into More Tools, Developer Tools, and we look at the console, you can see that we have an error from React that says each child in an array should have a unique key prop. And so what that means is we need to go back to our component. And here when we render tweets, anytime in React when you render a list of items, you always need to include a unique key on each of those items. And in this case, we can use the ID of our tweet for that key. So here we've pulled ID out of data because it's a special property, and so it's at the top of our data structure. And so we can just directly reference tweet.id. And that will give this tweet and any tweet that we have a unique key. And if we refresh the page now, our error has gone away, and React knows how to distinguish that from other tweets. So in the next step, we're going to take our simple text and we're going to render it out into a full-fledged tweet component.